Hey everyone, thank you for joining the stream. We're going to get started in just a minute, working on a LARP tonight. Just getting everything set up here. Alright, so thank you for those who are joining me. Give me a message in the chat if you can hear me, and if you can hear the music. This headset's a little unpredictable, so I never really know. But do let me know, and thanks for jumping in. Oh, I have a friend here, Odin. My dog missed me. I was away for a little bit at Gen Con, and my doggo missed me, and now he's here being a cute doggo. This is Odin, for those of you who don't know my dog. So, hey there, Cobalt. Can you hear me? My voice as well as the music playing in the background? If you could just let me know in the chat room, that would be great. I appreciate that. And we're going to get started talking about LARP in just a minute. Right now we're just kind of getting comfy in the stream, and I've got my pupper doggo here, and one of my friends wanted to watch me stream, and I'm just trying to make sure he's able to get in here. Hang on one second. Yes. Oh, you can hear my voice. You can't hear the music. All right. Well, that's something at least. I'm going to turn the music up a bit. Tell me now if you can hear the music. If not, I'm going to mess with one setting, and then if I can't get it to work, I'm just going to forget about it. Because we're going to talk a lot about LARP tonight as I do this. Okay. Sound. Alright, no music. Okay. Cobalt, thank you for helping me. I really appreciate that. How about now? Does that change anything? Do you hear music and voice, or just voice still? If that doesn't change, I'll just go back to how it was. Awesome. Okay. Still only voice or music? I mean, I'm hearing some awesome music. I wish you guys could hear it. I have it set up like that. Alright. So, we're going to get started. It's very low music. Voice is good. Cobalt, thank you so much. You're fantastic for helping me out with this. So, we're going to get started talking about LARP, which is live action role playing. And I'm going to do something a little different with this today. I'm going to be talking about a game that I'm working on called Chariot, which is a LARP that begins to take place all in the computer. And it takes place all over the computer, which is very unconventional for a live action role playing game. So I'm going to start in just a minute here, and I'm going to message my friend and see if he's available. And then Cobalt, if you're still around later, I'll actually take a look at your piece that you wanted me to edit, and work on that here. I'm just making sure the people that wanted to hang out on the stream could do that. Alright, there we go. My computer's very slow. Okay. Bam. Go, paste. Alright. Fantastic. I am closing Facebook because that slows everything down. Alright, and hey, Nick. Hi. Thank you for joining. Funny Redemption, I did get your messages. Thank you very much for the compliment. If you could keep the chat in the chat room, because that way I can be sure to see it. I won't miss any private messages. And if we're talking about stuff like that, I'd feel more comfortable discussing it in the chat room there, where all of my moderators can just kind of keep an eye on everything. So thank you. All right, great. So right now I'm working on Chariot, which is it's a space opera. I don't know if I'm really going to call it that. But my idea for this is that it's a LARP that's entirely played online. And most live action roleplay, of course, is done in person, where you show up to an event and you go ahead and you portray your characters and you do your roleplay in person. So it's all live action. Now, what I'm doing is a little different, maybe a little controversial, and maybe we decided it isn't LARP at all. And I had originally developed this to do... Oh, thanks, Nick. Glad to have you in here. So, you know, what I'm looking to do here is have the players interact entirely over Google Hangouts, and then I'm going to be broadcasting it on Twitch so that other people can join in and watch and participate and make comments. So it'll have like a moderated channel kind of thing. And for those of you, I know there's at least 2 of you in here that play on the Red Guard, which is a Star Trek role-playing game. We actually do text-based roleplay, but we stream it over on there. Hey, hi. So it's Marshall. Oh, hey, how you doing? No, you're welcome to join in. I was actually really hoping that people who wanted to participate in the game were here, so please do stay. So that's kind of the idea. But we do this on the Red Guard, text-based only so far. And I've done this with a couple of friends. I haven't streamed it, but we've role-played it over Google Hangouts. And we did some things to make it very immersive. Marshall, who's in the chat right now, is one of those friends. And Nick and Cobalt in the chat are on the Red Guard, so they do the text-based roleplay that we stream. And we will be doing voice chat roleplay at some point, I think, on there as well. So my idea was to create a live-action role-playing game that takes place entirely online. The weird/controversial thing is that some people aren't going to consider it live-action roleplay because it's not in person, and some people are also going to have a problem with me charging for it. And I've played around with the amount since I wrote this. It's not a blockbuster LARP. Part of the point of this is to be accessible, make it accessible. And part of it is that there are only a limited amount of slots available on Google Hangouts, so that limits the size of the LARP. So what I'm hoping to do is do multiple runs of this LARP and subsidize one ticket so that everybody else pays for the last one. Why am I charging for this? Because it's all online. It's done with all free tools. Well, I'm putting a lot of time into developing a workbook for it, and I am putting time into running this game. And if I do multiple runs, up to 5 runs, this is basically going to be a more than part-time job for me. So I'm not looking at charging a lot. I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of like $40 or $50, and it takes place over several sessions in a month. So originally, I had thought to do this LARP entirely on Twitch, and so it's streamed entirely on Twitch. And also, I had wanted to run like the whole thing there from start to finish. I've been workshopping it a bit with people. I talked to Sharon, who at least one of you in the chat knows, and my dear friend Sharon Underberg from New World Magiscola. And she thought that, we would lose some of the interaction by doing something that would normally be done in person over the computer. So given that feedback, as well as some feedback from people on the Salon LARP panel that I did over the weekend at Gen Con, including my co-panelist, Aaron Vonick, I've decided instead to do a LARP experience online, so it's before they go on the spaceship only, and then offline, like at a convention, you can play the continuation where you meet up with the other people in person. And it's going to be standalone, so you can do the first part online only and not show up to the convention and play there. Or you can show up to the convention and play and not do this online. And each segment will be charged separately or not as the convention allows. Like at Metatopia, you can't really charge to run your games, but at Gen Con you can. So I'm looking to do like a big event next year at Gen Con, and that'll be like the big one. But it can go in like a campaign sequence, that kind of thing. So that'll work. And I'm really excited about that. Red Guard, thank you for hosting me. I greatly appreciate it. Love you guys. Yes. Thanks, Nick. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. And thank you for helping me out over on Patreon. I appreciate that too. That allows me to do this and kind of get my start here. So going back to why am I charging for this, or why am I going to be charging for this? Because it's going to be a part-time job for me to run this. And I'm also hoping to use that money as a foundation to launch the Geek Initiative, to get a legitimate LLC, to get insurance so I can run in-person events, because I've also developed a blockbuster LARP that needs a home. And that's an American Revolution setting. So I'm using this as a launching pad for that, and I'm not charging a lot for it. It's going to be controversial because I'm charging for it, though. If you guys have any opinions about that, do toss them into chat, because this is not just me editing what I've written, but this is getting your opinion on it, because it's a kind of a new controversial thing that I'm doing this on Twitch and calling it a LARP. So the way that it would work is, first I'm running a beta test, which Marshall's going to be a part of. And then after that, I am running the game. I'm actually going to sell tickets to this game. And there will be, I'm probably going to run it over the course of a month. And it'll be about 8 hours of gameplay plus another 2 hours of workshopping. And I'm going to charge like $50 a person. So they'll get a fully detailed PDF character development. And it's just a standalone thing that can be done online. And I'm changing it to what is done online is the characters go on this journey where they meet each other and speak to each other before they meet on a spaceship. So they're going to meet in the future, but it doesn't happen during the online LARP. What does happen is these people need to let go of everyone and everything that they know and love. Their regular job, their family, their pets. They need to say goodbye to all of those things. And so this game has become, the first part of this game has really become about grief and letting go. And for those of you who've LARPed with me, you know that that's a theme that I play with sometimes. And I'll get personal here. You know, I've had to let go of a lot of stuff in my personal life recently. And the more I kind of thought about that and what I wanted to discuss, and the more I thought about Sharon's feedback of it being a little difficult to interact with people who are supposed to be in the same location if you're only using this online, I decided, why not just make the online portion the part before they really meet each other in person. So it's also about these connections and these deep emotions that you can develop with people online, which is another thing that, you know, is a real life thing for a lot of us. I'm sure I'm not the only person who has met people I care about online. And I know from going to LARPs like New World Magic School, you develop these character relationships and these friendships, out-of-game friendships online, and then you go and show up to a LARP in person and they expand. So what I'm looking to do is explore that a little bit too. So right now I have a nice design document with a bunch of stuff built out, but this was supposed to be about, like, they come onto the ship and they also go onto the ship on that. I don't think that's going to work. I think this is going to be better off as these feelings that people experience before they go onto the ship. So I have a whole bunch of stuff kind of, you know, blocked out. And I quickly realized that with only like 8 slots available, and these prices are not what I'm going for. It's going to be more like $40 a person, or $50 at most. And, you know, I quickly realized that I would need to do multiple runs to accommodate the amount of people that will probably be interested. So Marshall says, things that make me want to spend money on a LARP that could work over Google Hangout: duration, original mechanics, deep connections, playing with strangers, and working with an impressive GM. Okay, those are all great, great points. So the duration for this, and feel free to give me feedback here, I'm looking at 1 month long, 4 hours, 2 hours in each segment, plus an additional 2-hour workshop. So it's 8 hours of entertainment, another 2 hours of workshopping, maybe more. I think that players will probably want to have other hangouts and develop it, and that's fine. You know, like kind of what we informally do for other LARPs. I would love that actually, but I'm going to try to give them a lot of materials to work with. So if you're the kind of person that's really interested in character development, I'm going to give you material that you should fill out, and then I'm going to give you supplemental material that if you want to delve into that further, like your character, you journal before you go on stream again. And one of the sessions will be a journal sharing session where people say what they want to say in character. So the real core idea here is that people, these people have been chosen to go on an expedition to create a colony. They are going to live and die on the ship. And they will have to say goodbye to everything and everyone. So the key emotion we're exploring here is grief. And second to that's going to be, how do people develop feelings for each other when they only know each other behind a computer screen? Because for the purposes of this LARP, that's all they'll know. And then when I continue it, either with the same players or new players, or probably a mix, because there's supposed to be like a few hundred people on this spaceship, then it will be these people who some of them have met each other just on online communications, and then they speak. So let's see. These hangouts and player-generated workshops are a great way to add to the duration, deep connections, and playing with strangers. Thank you. I'm hoping to get people who are into character development. I'm hoping to hook in a few new LARPers who are actually just writers. And when I posted a message on Facebook for interest, some of the people who responded were writers. And I think some of them don't feel comfortable showing up to a game in medieval fantasy costuming and playing, but they really do feel comfortable behind the computer screen. And it's a really neat way to kind of get them involved in live action role playing and to meet people who can pull them in more. Marshall, something you said is that playing with strangers is an appeal to this kind of thing. I think that might be a really important thing when I'm looking at placing different players in a game with limited slots, is I want some people who are new. I want people who have different life experiences. And that's really something to consider. One thing where I'm going to frankly lose money on it, but it's really important to me, is to do something that Dragon Thrones did really well. Of all the feedback they got, among the best was how they did very personalized interviews before they created characters, especially for the new LARPers. And I've seen a couple different character creation methods, and from stats-heavy games to games where you can completely customize your own character, and I like what they did best. There is a GM named Rita who runs games that I've heard are really fantastic. I'm going to be playing in her game On the Rocks in March of next year. And her character creation process is phenomenal. She sends out a very detailed survey. And I think I want to do something similar, but I want to have an in-person conversation with people. And I want, as the GM, I'd like them to feel comfortable with me, especially if I don't know them. And I've also thought about that as the role of the GM in this game. I think I'm really interested in what I call scripted PCs. So a scripted PC is someone who's definitely a character in the game as much as anyone else, but their objectives aren't optional. They have mandatory objectives to complete. Oh, hey, Adam. Thanks for watching. They have mandatory objectives to complete because they're a scripted PC, so it's a different type of role. So in this game, me as the GM, I'll be the captain, and it will be a scripted PC so that I can help move plot. And there might be one or two other characters in there who are a scripted PC. So Marshall, you're a very experienced role player. I've LARPed with you before. We have some trust as players. If you, for example, wanted to play a scripted PC role and were interested in that, I would go ahead and I would give you a role like that. Now that I have a bunch of Red Guard people in here, I think Nick stopped watching because he had to work. But another example is the American Revolution LARP that I'm writing. I have a few generals that are general characters that are going to be in that game. It's based on history, and although the players won't be playing historical characters, they'll be playing aspects of what the historical characters do. So the scripted PCs in that game are going to be the named general characters who were real. So behind the scenes, there's going to be Washington and General Howe giving orders, and then in person, you're going to see Andre, who is a major in the British Army, and I've picked him to be the face person because he's a super. He was actually a gentleman and a nice person. He wasn't like the evil British Empire. And then you'll also see Lafayette, who I'm actually hoping that Nick will play, because he is a native French speaker. And those are both going to be my scripted PCs. And those are both going to be players that I trust to kind of guide the story as I need to do that, because I won't be in that game as a commanding presence. I'm going to be in that game probably as more of an information giver person, because intrigue is a big part of that game. So I need them to handle like the military command aspect, and also keeping players in check, because in some of these games, you know, I find as a GM, especially as a female GM, people can be jerks, and so I need players in those scripted roles who can come in and knock that down, knock that behavior off in character and out of character. So I am looking for somebody British to play Major Andre. It doesn't have to be a man. The roles are gender cast, however. So if you happen to know of somebody who is actually British to do that, it would be really cool. It would be really cool to have somebody actually from England playing that, and to have a native French speaker playing Lafayette. I would absolutely love it. So it would be really cool. So that's the plan for how I'm going to handle scripted PCs in a blockbuster game. Here in this game, I do want to give, Marshall's saying, hey there, Lord of Elves, welcome. This channel is LARP Chat Live, which is part of the Geek Initiative, my website at geekinitiative.com. And I host all sorts of LARP discussion stuff. So, yes, if I know you, tell me who you are, and I'll say hi. So right now I'm developing a LARP that entirely is going to be running on Twitch, at least this part of the LARP, which is a little bit controversial, especially since I'm actually going to be charging for it. Hey, John, how you doing? I figured it might be you because Lord of Elves, right? Lord of Elves. So Marshall's saying options of scripted and unscripted characters would give players great options. And John, I'd love your feedback on this as an experienced LARPer. I was talking about scripted PC roles, and a scripted PC role is somebody who gets to play the game like any other PC, but their objectives are not optional, and the player has to have a very good sense of timing and when to complete these objectives or push for certain things to happen, or to drop certain plot points. So I very much am interested in having pretty much just PCs, no NPCs, unless it's like a bigger game with campaign stuff and specific character development. And for those of you who know about New World Magic School, which is the Wizard School LARP game I go to, that's actually what I'm doing for my spin-off, is there aren't going to be NPCs, there are going to be scripted PCs. So there are going to be people that need to complete specific objectives, and I'm playing Minerva, my regular character, as a scripted PC to move the plot along at a certain time. So that's something that I've really strongly come to believe in the last few years. I have nothing against NPCs. I think in the context of like New World Magiscola, where you have a bunch of students who have issues with their parents and, you know, other people from outside of the school, that having NPC requests is amazing. Because I played at games where NPC requests are not a thing. And you can't do that. And I love the fact that that's kind of an option for all the different role-playing games I'm involved in now, to have an NPC come in. But scripted PCs, for purposes of this type of game, I think are going to be more rewarding, because it gives experienced players a real agency, but also like a role that they can do. And that kind of came about really organically. I've been running my LARP She's Got a Gun at conventions, and I noticed that instead of having a GM come in and play like 8 different NPCs, it was a lot more immersive and realistic for me to just kind of pull to the side, you know, like a role player I already knew, and say, hey, do you mind kind of like pushing the action along? And I didn't even really give plot points. I just said, like, you know, be kind of heavy-handed with the role play, throw stuff in there to kind of move plot around for other people. And that worked out really well. And so I'm going to do that a little bit more formally in this LARP. And again, this part of the LARP is taking place online. So that said, unless you have any other questions or comments, I'm going to start actually rolling through this document and adapting it for the first part of the game. And I'd really like feedback on the beginning of this, which is meant to cover not only the online game, but I think I should expand it to cover offline stuff as well. I've seen some of the European events run that way. It's entirely possible to run an event without NPCs. You just need the players to understand the difference. Most American LARPers aren't used to the concept, but I think it's doable. I agree. And I think, especially with this online setting, with there being a max of 10 people, including myself, in the game, it's going to be a really intimate setting. You can't really run something online without having too many people on. You know, Adam and Judy, if you're still on here, I'd love to know how many is like the max for running on the Star Trek sim. Because when you have people typing at the same time, it's the same thing. You can only have too many before it gets like, you know, kind of crazy. And I think Google Hangouts will be the same way. I think there's a 10-person limit on Google Hangouts, primarily because it does get crazy when you have when you have more than 10 people, everyone's talking over each other and stuff. So there will be some parts of this game, especially the online portion, where having that limit isn't really a problem, because it's like everyone goes around and shares something in character, completely in character. There are going to be other times when we have a discussion and it gets chaotic, and I, as the GM / the captain, am going to have to moderate that. So my role in it is going to be the captain of the ship, and the captain is not necessarily the leader at all times. There's a captain, but they're taking an entire civilization to a new planet, so they need like a political structure too, and a captain isn't necessarily a governing official. A captain is good at running a ship and good at running a crew. So that's going to be some tension that I looked over to play out. John, thank you so much for subscribing. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that was a thing. Do I have like a button for that now? How did you do that even? I didn't even know the button showed up yet. Oh my gosh. Oh, you're going to make me cry. I got a that was my first subscription with Prime or at all. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you for following me too. That was weird, because I was like, Nick isn't on here, why do I hear his voice? And that's because it comes up in the notifications. Yeah, so thank you so much for that. Apparently I can get subscribers now, and it works. I guess you see the button when you log in. Thank you so much. I guess I'm really affiliated for real. I didn't even know that it went through. I'm freaking out. That's so cool. Thank you so much for the subscription. I'm freaking out. Wow, that's so legit. Okay, so anyways, yeah, so if you do have Amazon Prime, apparently you can subscribe to my channel now, and yeah, that was really cool. I had a really rough week, and it was really sweet of everyone to come out and support me. Thank you so much. Thanks for the congratulations. Star Trek Sims are considered active at 6 players. For Discord, it will be difficult to manage if you go over 15. Yeah, I can see that. Apparently got a new follower. Get the notification. Oh my god. Okay, I don't know if you can hear the notification or not. It's really quiet, but yay! Thank you, Judy. I appreciate the follow. Yay. Trying to grow my stream a little bit here. So yeah, I at first I was like, oh man, I can only have so many slots for this game because Google Hangouts limits me. And the way that it works is on Twitch is you stream. So I would have people call into Google Hangouts, and then what you see on the Twitch screen when you're watching Twitch is you actually just see us role playing. I'm just broadcasting Google Hangouts there, and people can interact with us via chat. Now I'm thinking about having a special option for it where towards the end of it, people can ask the captain and this crew and the passengers questions. So you guys can get like your friends involved in asking questions of your character before they leave. So by then you'll have a very developed character, and people can come on and ask you things. The Twitch stream will have to be very heavily moderated. I'm going to have it moderated mostly by people who are not playing the game. So I am looking for people to do that, because people are going to be jerks, and especially if it gets good numbers, people will come in and say mean stuff. So moderators will ban people. Rah. So yes, I'm just like over the moon that I actually had like a subscription, and also that my Patreon got a contribution today, and I'm just trying not to cry, because that was, yeah. But Judy will hate me if I cry, so I'm not gonna cry. It's fine. Yes, no jerks are allowed, because they will get destroyed. Okay, so here's what I have so far. We're gonna kind of run through what I have, and this was originally written for the entire event to be online, and I have since altered it that the beginning of the event is online, and then there's another component. I'm not gonna cry, don't worry. I don't want to make you feel like weird. I'm not gonna cry on stream. I won't do it. But I'm really touched that you guys are supporting me. Thank you. So I have to kind of consider that as I'm retooling this game. So Chariot is an immersive, month-long digital live-action role-playing experience taking place entirely over an online live broadcast or a stream. Players portray characters in the year 2087. Feel free to give me some input on the year. I just picked something randomly. Leaving a war-ravaged Earth to inhabit the first human settlement on Mars. This LARP will deal with themes of grief, tension between generations, morality, tension, and politics. I'm going to add onto that morality, tension, online relationships, and politics. And this is something I talk about a lot with role-playing with other people online. And this definitely applies to a lot of you in here. When you connect with a really good group or a really good co-writer, you get very close very quickly online. And I think that's something that this LARP needs to explore in a really, I guess, in a meta way, but also within the game. Like, these characters are going to become close. Religion. I'm going to stay away from religion because that's a touchy topic for a lot of people outside of the game. However, I'm not opposed to having, like, somebody play a religious character either. Like, if I interviewed you, Cobalt, and you were like, yeah, I'm going to play your game, I really want to play a religious character, I'd feel comfortable putting that in the game with certain context because that really reflects reality. But the idea here is that we're not talking about religion and politics and how they influence now. We're exploring them as greater concepts because the idea is that things have already gone pretty badly, I'll say, in a socio-political context, and the world is, like, consumed by war. So by 2087, we can say that some of the ice caps have melted and that some political decisions have led to some bad military decisions, and it's time to get the hell out of Earth. And that's what people are doing. So I'm going to leave religion out of that, but I'm not opposed to including it as a character development theme. Judy, thank you very much for hosting me. I appreciate that very much. Okay, so yeah, look, yo, you've got Riker on there. Yay, thank you. How is this different from an in-person LARP? This contains a focus on character development, pre-roleplay, and workshopping, in addition to the face-to-face in-game element on screen. It is recommended for those who are or wish to become writers, game designers, and actors. Let me know if you think that's a little too off-putting for new LARPers, because I'd like to bring new people in. Marshall said that one of the things that he would like to get out of a game that is online that he pays for is interaction with with different people he doesn't already know. And I don't want to turn off anyone new to LARP. This is very inexpensive, and I'm making it very accessible. So new LARPers are going to get to interact with people who have been doing this at a very high level at $600+ games. And I don't think this kind of roleplay should be limited only to people who can afford those games consistently. The only reason I can afford them consistently is because I help different game designers develop them. And so I'm often able to attend in a GM type capacity. So I understand that want to go to those types of games and not afford them. Okay, additionally, there is a non-stream digital component to this game. Chroniclers provide summaries, and passengers are permitted to interact with people from Earth via digital communication. Now that is not an aspect I can keep, because the entire game is now taking place in more intimately and not like that. So I'm going to highlight that because we are still going to have an element of that, but it's going to be like an AMA. So by the end of the game, it's going to be more like okay, we're getting ready to leave. This is like our press conference, or like an online conversation that our characters are having with the general public. And that's when everybody can invite their friends in to ask questions. It's going to be really cool. So I'm going to rewrite that part. This LARP is designed to be rules light and immersive. It requires approximately 5 hours per week during the month of game, and that's too much. I'm changing that to 2. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 8 gameplay hours total. I'm knocking down the amount of hours that are required because I think that's too much for a lot of people to commit to. And I am knocking down the price to go in line with that because I want to keep it very accessible. Additionally, you will receive a printable PDF workbook and a journal prompt sheet should you wish to develop your character and record your experience in character. And one thing that I've been doing over at Redguard is they made a separate channel for me so that I can post character development questions. And I love that. And I think that's how I would probably handle this, like on this workbook, like day 5, here's your question. And people can answer that in character or out of character. And they can journal it in character if they want. I think that would be really cool. Or if they feel more comfortable talking about out of game, they can do that as long as they're working on their character development if they wish. I don't know what I was going with here. I started to write something and I didn't, so we're going to go back to that. Marshall says, I love interaction with the audience. That's really a unique strength of the platform. Thank you. And I think I need to go into more detail about that. Because I think people are really hesitant to include that or to like embrace that part of technology. I know that I am. I'm a blogger, so I'm very comfortable with writing. For those of you who know me primarily through written roleplay, I'm extremely comfortable with just diving in there and being like, I'll write this roleplay. Bam! I'm gonna just write a romance novel in the middle of this like game. I'm a little less comfortable in voice. It's taken me a lot to do this kind of streaming thing. It takes a lot of different skill set than I have in a different capacity for kind of like developing my skills than it does than I have as a writer. So I get that. And we also might be dealing with other people who feel that way. So to lead a game like this is like, it's a little scary. But I'm going to have a great crew. We're going to have a great test run. And I'm going to have amazing moderators in the chat that will wield the ban hammer. Ban hammer. You'll get banned. In fact, I know several people. Like, Chad loves the ban hammer. Nick loves the ban hammer. So if we have any people that have problems, ban hammer. Okay. Let me know if I'm missing anything from this section. Judy says, I have to go to work. I'll try to come watch it if I have downtime. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Judy, for checking in. I know you're new to all this role-playing stuff, and I'm really happy to have you here. And I missed you last week when I was away. Okay, already so thankful for the mods. Yes, thanks, Marshall. It's great because it's just a safety thing. You know, safety is the primary thing of importance in role-playing games, and that's a safety deal, right? Like, I wouldn't feel safe playing this kind of game unless I knew that somebody was there to monitor the comments that people were saying about me as a player. And that's why, like, as I go with this stream, and I am going to have a separate channel for this. It'll be the Geek Initiative's own channel. I think that was really smart marketing advice from Adam. You know, as I go on with this, it is going to include that that level of comfortability. Like, I need to make sure I have mods in place that I trust because I need to create a culture of trust for the players. So having those kinds of moderators on Twitch is really important. This kind of thing has the potential to go pretty big. I mean, I'm a very new streamer, and even just with the people I know, I have 9 viewers in here. Imagine if we have 10 players, including myself, and my entire brand promoting this, and my roommate who has a lot of followers promoting this, and, you know, and so on. It's going to be a lot of people watching. And this hasn't quite, I don't think this has quite been done before, at least not on an organized scale. So that's where we're going. So do let me know in this section if, especially if you haven't LARP before, if I am missing anything for what you need to play this LARP. So I have that you will need a small suite of tools to play this game, but most of them are free. You need a computer and a reliable internet connection. Mac or PC will work. You need Discord, which a lot of you already know about. It's free. You can get resource links in there, and I'm just continually amazed with you, Adam, how you run your Discord channel and how easy it is to change on the fly and make customized areas for people to discuss different things and to post messages. And instead of having like a complicated message board for a game that runs 8 hours, I would love to just do it on Discord and give people that space with character development in mind. Fantastic. Also an easy way for me to keep an eye on what people are doing and to not force people onto Facebook. Because before this, a lot of the stuff I've done is Facebook. Yeah, Nick does a lot. He's helped me set up the Geek Initiative one and reference guide for new players. Yes, thank you, Cobalt. That is important to keep in mind. That's going to be part of what I get to. Yeah, I'm going to actually put that in here. With glossary for new LARPers. Thank you, Cobalt. That's a really great suggestion. Yeah, Nick has helped me set up the Geek Initiatives Discord like that as well. I find it really confusing still. I don't know, but I think I get the basics. So he'll probably have to help me like set up the different channels for this. But I think it's really neat, like how in Redguard, when we've come across different things that we need, it's so easy to change on the fly, even in the middle of the game, like, and add that. So for those who don't know about Redguard, we have different channels. Like there's a command channel so that the people who play, the senior officials who actually run the game, can just hop into a command channel and make decisions without causing any kind of out-of-game drama among the players. I think it's, as a player who is not playing a command character, who does not have that role out of game, I find that to be really efficient and useful because it kind of allows the rest of us to continue going on. So that's probably actually something that I would really love to include in my game as well, because we keep the drama in character. We don't keep it out of character, even if command is discussing a problem. That's super. It's a super way to set it up, and just seeing how it's done on Redguard has inspired me a lot for how I want my Discord to look. So yeah, so Discord, a Twitch.tv account, free. Google account for Google Hangouts, free, because you'll need to log in to play. A private, uninterrupted space from which you can broadcast. You should be willing to change the space as needed with a light set decoration, or simply sit with a blank wall in the background. We'll provide tips and instructions. I don't think Jess is in here. Jess, are you in here? No, I don't think Jess is in here. Yeah, so like my friend Jess is a set designer, so I'm going to ask her to do I'm actually going to highlight this because I haven't asked her yet, and she just loves helping me with this stuff. I'm going to ask her to make like a little guide for that, and even maybe publish it as an article. So yeah, and I think I have a... Thank you, Cobalt. I think I have a command for that, actually. Is that it? I thought I had it. Maybe I don't. I failed. Okay, I want to put the link in here. For those of you who are not on the Redguard and are interested in joining it, that's the link. Without the dashy thing at the end. And you can just talk to USS Redguard in the chat. That's Adam. He runs it. So, command got in trouble today. That's why I reported the voice channel. Whoops. But that's really good, though, because it wasn't drama that happened in front of everyone, and the rest of us just kept talking and joking and playing, and I think that worked really well. John asks, are we doing costuming at all when it's on video? Optional. That's a fantastic idea. Reference. I'm going to say reference and costuming. So costuming is going to be great. Yeah, you can just click on USS Redguard and go to his Twitch channel. And you get to roleplay with me if you join the Redguard. I play a Vulcan human. No, Cobalt, we won't be using Skype for this particular game. I want to do it all over Google Hangouts because it's easier to broadcast that on Twitch. And also, it's a little bit more secure because you need somebody's like email address to get their Google Hangouts. It's connected. It's a little bit easier. So that's what I'm going to do. But costuming guide is important. I also want to make it clear that the barrier of entry regarding costuming is low. So New World Magiscola is a great example of a game that has a very low barrier to entry with costuming. It's a very expensive game to attend. The tickets are very high, but you are playing a wizard from the present time. So if you want to wear jeans and a t-shirt, especially if you're born mundane born, which is like muggle born, you can do that. They provide the tie, they provide the robe. Yeah, and I'm actually thinking some kind of insignia that I can print out to make everybody feel connected. They're all wearing a thing. And I'm already thinking what I would include a reference and costuming guide. In the reference and costuming guide, for example, I would tell people, You know, you're getting ready to leave and never see your family again. What jewelry do you wear? Are you married? Do you have a ring? Do you have, like I have a necklace that I got when I was in Ireland. And it means the world to me because I never wanted to leave once I went there. It was home. And I think now that I am where I am in my life, my goal is going to be to move there. You know, and I have not applied. I did apply to live in Canada the day after the election. But I think my heart is in Ireland, and that's where I want to go. So I got to work on that. It's one of my goals. But anyway, like, that means a lot to me in real life as a person. So, and it also means a lot to me because my grandmother shared our culture with me. She was really into our Irish heritage and the traditions that her grandmother taught her, and she shared that with me a lot. And so that necklace means a lot to me. So in character, I might choose something similar to reflect what means a lot to my character. My character that I play on Redguard, as an example, Tiliana, she doesn't have a lot of connection to her heritage. Unlike me, she doesn't feel very connected to where she comes from. And I chose to reflect that by giving her a very plain space. And she started to have a couple good things that happened in her life. She started to have some stability, which is something she hadn't had for a while. And so she has this little plant. She has this little plant in her quarters, and it's like this tiny, sad little thing that's probably like nearly dead because she's so focused on other stuff. But she has nothing else. She doesn't have anything. She's in love, and she's doing a picture of the guy. She just has this little plant that's probably dying. It's really sad. And the rest of her quarters are very Spartan because she feels that's her life situation. Like, she feels like, well, I'm here now, but I might not be tomorrow. She just hasn't had that kind of stability. So things like that. And we can also talk about that in terms of the costume or the setting. You know, like if I were to play a character that we're leaving, right now I have, speaking of heritage, I have my flags behind me. But maybe my character has different ties. Maybe she's already packed. Maybe she got the notification that she was going to be posted aboard the ship as a captain, and all she's got in her background is not a dog, like I do apparently, but a flag from the ship, or the insignia of the ship, which would be really cool, because that's her. One thing that I really connect to a lot of my characters on, that I think at this point in my life I really want to focus on, is that my job and my dream, like, I'm in love with my dream. You know, I don't even have time in my life to be in love with a person. I'm in love with a dream of what I want to do, and this is what that is to me. And so I use that to connect with my characters, and I really started realizing that. And John was actually there for this moment. John was there for this moment when I was playing Minerva Hennigan at Odin. Don't eat clothing, thank you, puppy. When I was playing Minerva Hennigan, a student who was going to become a marshal, which is like a wizard cop, run one of New World Magiscola, when she was talking to his character about Marshal Nightwind, about that she wanted to be a marshal, and that was what she wanted to do for the rest of her life. And that was the first time I'd ever played a character who was like I've played a character who was like committed to her cause, but I was like, she's married to her job. And then, like many of my characters, out of nowhere, she meets this guy, and she's like blown away, right? She was just blown away by this guy. I have a pupper doggo over here. She meets this guy, and she's like, well, what do I do with this now? And she kind of like let it simmer and see what was going on. And then they decided at the end of run 5, which was their graduation, that he was going to go one way and she was going to go another way. And but they'd still see each other, hang out from time to time, you know. And that was kind of like a really interesting moment for me, because I'm very careful during roleplay not to have bleed unless I intend. So I explored grief very heavily in that game, saying goodbye to my grandfather, and I intend to do the same thing in this game that I'm writing. But in that particular game, you know, I was careful to take in all that bleed, and also to like set limits. So when you do like romance roleplay, you always set a limit so that you're in character and out of character emotions don't like come together. you know, like some of them can bleed over, like you can be super friendly, but you have that limit so that if you don't want that to happen, it doesn't. You know, I did just get out of a relationship where I allowed some of that to happen because I was with that person in real life. But for like 9 years, I wasn't with him, and I had that wall set up and became very adept at that. So that's something to consider too, and something that would be in the character guide here, because you get really close to people really fast. And that's actually the mark of a really good role-playing game. But anyway, Minerva was like, she decided she was married to her job. And by the time I was done run 5, I think I had a realization of, oh my god, this is the person I want to be. And that happens. That's a transformative moment in roleplay. I had that moment of, I am married to what I want to do. And I don't know where that leaves the rest of my life. But there we go. Right? So here I am, doing what I want to do. And that's the kind of transformative experience that I have. I see my stream is dropping frames. And then I'm lagging a bit, but I'm still streaming, so I'm going to keep going here. Alright. Tell me that I'm still in stream. You guys still seeing me? Type something if you can still see me. If you can still hear me. Because I am not seeing it. There we go. My frames are dropping, but I think I'm okay. Alright. So I'm going to move into the next section of this. What are the goals of my LARP? I'm going to pause and wait just to make sure you can see me. Tell me in chat, somebody, if you make sure that I'm still streaming. I think I'm good. Alright, I see it's working now. Cool. Okay. So, what are the goals of this LARP? Oh my gosh, Cobalt. I see it, Cobalt. Thank you. Okay. What are the goals of this LARP? The primary goal of the scheme is to provide an accessible LARP experience for both new and experienced players. We hope to accomplish this in the following ways. No travel requirements, little to no costuming requirements, utilizing technology that players already have, making use of free digital resources, and providing one sponsored position per game subsidized from the other ticket costs. That means that if I'm charging $40 if I'm charging 40 or $50 for this game, that means that some of that money subsidizes one ticket so that somebody who couldn't afford to play it can. That's really important to me. And that's something that's really difficult for a lot of LARPs to solve, especially the large-scale blockbuster games. How old do I have to be to play? This is an 18-plus game with mature content streamed on a mature Twitch channel. Players and viewers may encounter strong language, references to sexual acts, depiction of violence via makeup, prosthetics, and special effects. Unpredictable content from chat and game participants, so the channels will be heavily moderated. I can't determine what people are going to do. You never know what PCs are going to do, right? So especially in the 18-plus game, I think that needs to be in there. And I am going to have to do some like legal forms for this stuff. But what must I consent to? Players must agree to... Oh, I got a new follower. Someone followed me. I'm waiting to see who it is. Oh, thank you, Hunt. I appreciate that. Yay. Thanks for following. What must I consent to? Participants must agree to abide by all policies set forth by Twitch, Discord, and the Geek Initiative. Provide permission for your face to appear on stream and to be captured for your face, unless say face and voice, to appear on stream and to be captured on our channel for archival purposes and use in promotional materials. Once I have one run, it would be really nice if like someone who's cool and does video stuff could like make a promo video for my second game. How many games will run? We can run up to 3 concurrent games. January and February 2018 is not necessarily something I was set on. That's just what I put in there, just knowing what I'm doing. I'm free in September, and I want to work on developing games, including this one. October, I'm helping to run Immerton out in California, and then I'm going to a wedding in Quebec, so I am going to be out for 2 weekends of that entire month. And then after that, December's holiday and a November's holiday for people in the US, so it's pretty difficult. Alpha, Beta, and Gamma Shift. Oh my gosh, Cobalt. That is freaking amazing. I love it. And it's like people are on different shifts. So then if the next game is in person at a convention, they're on different shifts in their meeting. That's why maybe like if you were in alpha and I was in beta, we never met online because we got to know each other with different shifts or with our same shifts. That's really sweet. I love that. And a lot of games use run 1, run 2, etc. We could just use alpha, beta, gamma, etc. That is fantastic. I appreciate that. Also, the title of this is Chariot LARP. And Chariot, that name came from Jax. So I don't know if she's on here. I think she's streaming something else right now. But she gave me a great name. And I'm just calling it Chariot LARP. Going to make it really easy. I've noticed that very successful LARPs like College of Wizardry, their URL is cowlarp.com. Going to keep it simple. I don't know if I can't right now afford another domain, but and Adam, I'm probably going to ask you for your opinion on this now or later. I want to just sell tickets to the Geek Initiative. I'm going to get SSL, and I'm going to use WooCommerce, but I might need to do like a subdomain, and I don't know how to do that. So, like, I think LARP needs its own section because I'm going to have my store is going to be LARP. So you can buy tickets and select options. So I might do larp.geekinitiative.com, and that's where you buy tickets and you can see about the different LARPs. Each LARP probably needs a landing page. I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet. I'm just trying to write the copy because I'm like, my mind is kind of boggled by that. So if anybody has any marketing or web design recommendations on that, that would be great. How does the casting process work? Each player receives a 30-minute casting call. We write each character based upon your preferences in our conversation. We will do our best to accommodate your preferences, but do need to run a balanced game. Where does the money from this game go? Let's see. Graphics and overlay for the Twitch stream, which, Adam, I am going to follow up with you about that because once I start selling tickets to this, I actually want a custom overlay just for this LARP. Social media coordination and management. So I am actually going to be able to pay, hopefully, Adam for the graphic. And then I'm going to pay somebody that I already know for the social media coordination. So a little bit of the funding will go to that. I can do social media. I'm really good at it. I don't have time to do that and develop LARPs and do all my editing work and play the games that I like to and stuff like that. So, and then this kind of goes into the welcome letter that you receive. So subdomain could point to a specific page or a new folder like a landing page. I like that idea. We'll talk more about that later because that's what I need to do. I just need a good organized structure for... I'm trying to envision high level. I'm selling multiple runs of multiple LARPs concurrently because I need to build this out through like 2019. People are already announcing dates for games in 2018, 2019, and beyond. And so I need to lock in my dates for these games. For virtual events, I can do that right now. There's nothing in my way. There's no financial barriers for me running virtual events. For in-person events, I need to lock down a venue before I can sell tickets. I am certainly at the point where I'm actually willing to sacrifice a lot of other stuff to be able to do that because I believe in what I'm doing. And I'm going to kickstart my American Revolution LARP, which is going to be great. So here's the letter that everybody gets, all the characters get. And again, I'm sending it in 2087. I'm not particularly like married to that date. It's just something I picked. In the future, I'm trying to pick a date where the world might erupt in war. So, no way what? John, what did you try to say? you spammed something. It was all caps, and Nightbot's regulated highly, because last time I was on here, I was talking about a really controversial topic. That's what happens when you're like, in your description, you're like, I'm a feminist. Let's turn up my moderation. Yeah, so do let me know what you were trying to say in PM, and I'll put it in here. Okay, so you have been selected. You are one of 233 crew and civilian members permitted to join the Chariot. In 37 days, again, random number, but I'm trying to keep it within a month, like about a month. This ship will depart in hopes of beginning a new life on Mars colony. A habitable residence awaits you as you leave our warring planet behind. Can you see this? Yes, I can see that. I can see that, John. You have been selected for your excellence and proficiency in your field and have completed our rigorous selection process and background check. Over the course of the next week, you will say goodbye to everything and everyone you know. This is going to be the next months, because the whole online portion of this is that. You will say goodbye to everything and everyone you know. Most of you will leave friends, colleagues, spouses, other family members, and pets behind in service of humanity's mission. Please find a small list of permitted and required items enclosed. Report to the nearest approved medical facility for your final physical, and ensure your physician signs and returns the form electronically. I understand that this may be a time of grief for you. Know that what we do is a service to our entire planet. During this time, please reach out to your assigned counselor to discuss any difficult feelings you may experience as you say your goodbyes. With respect, Captain Emily Flynn of the USS Chariot. That's going to be me. I'm going to change her name because reasons that I will happily discuss offline if you want. But that's basically going to be me. So that's kind of like the intro they get. The counselor role, looking for feedback on that too. The counselor role in a lot of LARPs, and some of the LARPs I play, including New World Magiscola, is an in and out of game role. So there is one or more people who play a counselor in game and out of game because it's a wizard college, right? So the counselor can talk to you in or out of game about emotions and issues that you may be experiencing. Ideally, I would love to have that kind of role, but I can't think of asking anybody to participate in that capacity for like multiple runs of this game. It's just really hard. So I'm looking for feedback on that. I would like to have that. I would like to have somebody kind of aware of emotional safety in this game, and someone who can kind of take lead on discussing emotional safety. I certainly know a few people who have expressed an interest in beta testing. And so this, Marshall, this is something that's going to come up a lot in the beta test, is when do we talk about that in workshopping and stuff like that? Because emotional safety is really important. This LARP is like entirely emotional, and if you're not there in person, that can get kind of rough. You know, if you're exploring grief and this triggers something in your life for you, what mechanics do we use while we're streaming? That's something we'll have to figure out. So that's kind of like the letter people get, and it sets the tone for this is what we're going to be exploring here. So then we have the character roles. Crew is one thing you might be. As a crew member of the Chariot, you're responsible for the safety of everyone aboard the ship. Your assigned tasks directly relate to the well-being of all passengers and fellow crew members. I just put some things in here. I honestly just thought of like Star Trek and like what kind of stuff that they need. They have like their command and senior staff, the ship maintenance and operations, a ship engineer, a navigator, and one thing I really want to add, this is very inspired by Ascension, the show Ascension, a civilian relations expert, because part of the culture of this is that the crew and the civilians are kind of separate, and they need somebody to negotiate. So if something goes wrong on the ship, and this is the tension I'm deliberately setting up, let's say I'm the captain and I'm making a decision. If it were Star Trek, ideally, like, if you're on the Enterprise for the Next Generation, Captain Picard would make a decision, and that would go for the entire ship. On this ship, there's also a political leader. So, me as the captain, I might make a decision for the safety of the crew, and it's possible that issues will come up, and this isn't really going to affect the online roleplay a lot, but issues will come up where the political leader might say, that's not in the best interest of my people, and that's not what we're doing. You can imagine what that leads to. That could even lead to, if this is a campaign game, this could even lead to a mutiny at one point. They could overthrow me and kill my character, right? So I'm kind of trying to leave the door open for that. So civilian relations expert is an example of somebody who might be on the crew, but they interact with that like political arm and just with the regular people that live there. Considering the nature of the mission, it's going to be a science-heavy ship. I've been thinking a lot about what scientists do in the future. I play a scientist on Red Guard, and sometimes when she stands there at her like science station, and I'm like, what is she doing? What is she thinking about? Because she does have a lot going on, but she is very work focused, and she is very efficient when she can be. And I obviously stopped typing in the middle of the sentence, so we're just going to highlight that. But these are different things, and everyone can feel free to toss in more suggestions. Cobalt, you're fantastic at this stuff. Civilian scientists are charged with advancing society and like other stuff. They can have the following roles: botanist, biologist, computer scientist, microtechnology expert, astrophysicist, artificial intelligence developer, terraforming engineer. I'm trying to think of what people would need if they wanted to colonize something that was always about doctors go where. Hunt, that is a great question. I think, okay, medical is in a separate thing. Hi, Peter. It's good to see you. Yeah, so that's going to go in a different section. Civilian scientists need to pass out, but very hyped. Thanks for sharing your process. Thank you, Marshall. I appreciate it. You'll get to see this a lot more as a tester for this game, and now you kind of have like an idea of where we're going with it, and I really look forward to having you in the test. Sometime tonight, I'm going to send out a message about when the game will be scheduled for testing. So thanks. So yeah, so science is really important. In this TV show Ascension, a lot of the scientists on the ship were like descendants of really notable people. So there was like a Tesla and an Einstein and stuff like that. It wasn't clear whether they were descendants or whether they were like genetically engineered or whatever, but you know, like it kind of really got into the point of like these are really notable and intelligent and capable people, and I really want all of the PCs to feel especially capable. And what's cool about that is in medieval fantasy it can be hard, or like in the SCA it can be hard because it's like, well, everybody's playing a noble character who isn't treated like crap. Why? In this setting, a lot of things are automated because it's on a ship in the future, so we don't necessarily need people to do those things. But as you'll see as I go on, some of the tension possible in the setting, there is, you know, can result from certain people or machines doing certain things. On the ship, is there a DNA and seed vault? That is a question that I would leave up to the medical people for that. Yeah. That kind of makes sense, though, that like people would be in charge of that. So another thing that this culture will hopefully value, which is our culture on Earth in the future, that they would hopefully value is creativity. So the civilians are the creatives, or some of the civilians are creatives. So in addition to creating works to commemorate this monumental journey from Earth to Mars, you are partially responsible for the morale of the crew. So when things start to feel kind of sad or whatever, like you're responsible for chronicling that and also creating works. So examples: artist, musician, writer, playwright, chronicler, actor, dancer, library scientist. I love to sing in real life. As an example, I got to perform at the 7th Sea LARP at Gen Con, and I haven't played a bard in a LARP in a while. And yeah, DNA for animals and seeds for farming. Oh, so like replicating them. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's something that we might consider. And that I would get into Cobalt on the character level. So if you were interested in playing that kind of scientist who was responsible for that stuff, we would like work on that and what your duties would be. That'd be cool. So I put library scientists in civilian creative. I think journalism and chronicling the journey would be really important to people in this setting. If there's anything I missed, please let me know. These are just some suggestions, but if I were to interview you about what kind of character you wanted to play, and you had a different thing, I would go ahead and add that in, or let you play that. Education, also really important. Civilian educator. So as an educator, you're responsible for the educational needs of the passengers. As passengers come from all over the world, this is a particular challenge. Education includes primary, secondary, collegiate, postgraduate, continuing education, and job training. So, you know, people are going to Mars, they already have their specializations, but smart people like to continue learning things. So that's also important to consider. Maybe you have more suggestions. These are just some things. I feel like maybe like job training and colony life skills. I'm also going to highlight the word colony. So it's Mars colony. And I don't know if I feel comfortable using the word colony because it has a lot of negative connotations. But I don't know what else to call it. So if you have another idea, let me know. Colonies sounds like very specific to like dominant, European culture taking over the world and doing horrible things to native peoples. And I don't want that connotation. There are no Martians until people live there in this setting. So I don't want to deter people of color from playing this game. In fact, I like to do anything I can to encourage a variety of people to play this game. So anything other than that would be good. Wow, John, thank you. How about Outpost? Awesome, Outpost. No, I'm not overthinking colony. I definitely know that, people of color have told me they're not comfortable with that word, and I'm going to take their word for that. I want them to play my game. So Outpost. And I'm going to still highlight Outpost because I need to change that throughout the document. Outpost is more military sounding, which isn't bad. I'm trying to think what they use on Star Trek. They say Outpost. They use stations, space stations, but it's not a station because it's on... I know in Next Generation they use the word colony, but I want to avoid that word. Let's see. So we're going on to the medical. Peter, you asked about medical. Care workers and medical corps. Due to the failures of privatized medicine on Earth, you can see where I'm getting a little political here. Man, I wish Nick were still here because he's from Quebec and he has very specific opinions on healthcare. His healthcare is like $600 a year, and I'm like, if I had health insurance, that would be my cost per month. Not even, it would be $700. So $700 US. So yeah, we've talked about that, and it's impacted this game. Due to the failures of privatized medicine on Earth, care workers and medical corps operate as an independent organization tasked with providing universal health care to all inhabitants of the ship. Note that I said they're independent. And I did that for a reason, because healthcare is important, that in order to advocate it, it can't be part of the government and it can't be part of the military. It's its own thing. So this unit handles mental health, and I put that first for a reason. I want people to be thinking of that on an out-of-game level too. Physical health, medical research, which, I guess that's kind of tied in with science. On the Red Guard, the science lab and the medical lab are shared, and the science officer, the chief science officer, and the chief medical officer interact a lot, partly for interpersonal reasons. They're friends, but also, I foresee them interacting a lot because if something happens, like a virus outbreak or something, that's a medical issue, but scientists will be able to help. So I see that as kind of integrated. Physical fitness, massage. In real life, massage in the United States is not covered, usually, as part of a health insurance thing. It should be. Crew and civilian relationships. So they interact with the crew and the civilians and make sure everything's going okay. Elder care and special needs care. This ship does not exclude people who have special care needs. It does not exclude people who are old. Because I don't want to exclude players who fall into those categories, and I don't want to see it in or out of game as a limitation. It's part of the culture. It's value. Being talented or smart is your value. So if you are in real life, if you really have autism issues, but you're able to play this LARP, and you want to play somebody who's like yourself, and you're a virtuoso on the piano, and I know that doesn't apply to, that's not how all autistic people are, but this is just an example. There is a place for you in and out of game on the ship. So I want to be really clear about that. Childcare, that's something that, that's a service that needs to happen in veterinary services. Cobalt, you were talking about farming and settlements and stuff like that. Settlement is another good word. I don't know if that feels colonial or not, but I'm going to include that here, and I'm going to bring that up with discussion with some people. Settlement. Okay. Veterinary services, because there will be animals aboard. Thank you, Cobalt, for that link that you messaged me. That's really good. Okay. And then there's CSAPs, I'm calling it, which sounds super military. Civil engineer. Yeah, where should... Both of you mentioned engineers. John, I'm going to copy and paste what you said. And I'm going to add Cobalt's suggestion. Let's see. I'm going to put this under the military stuff. And I'm going to go back to it. Okay. And then Cobalt said civil engineer. So the idea is that they're going to get a small colony. I'm calling it colony, but that's not what I'm going to call it. They're getting a small area. They're getting the basics. They can show up and set up there. They don't have to like build everything from scratch, but they will need civil engineers to develop and maintain that once they get there. Okay, so veterinary service will be stopped. So then we come across CSAPs, which is the Civilian Ship Operations Unit. These are the people responsible for overseeing the very basic needs on a ship. After I wrote this, I was on an airplane yesterday. I was not in a very good mood. I was very upset. And, you know, I'd had something really bad happen, and I had some friends talk me through it. But then I had to get on a plane and fly home. And hilariously enough, we get on the plane, the lights start flickering, the gate thing doesn't function. I thought I was going to die. And then they're like, they make an announcement, and he's like, this plane's journey today has been a series of unfortunate events. Not what you want to hear from the pilot. So that's what the pilot says. And then he's like, by the way, please refrain from using the bathrooms during our 1 hour and 45-minute flight because they're not working. We were unable to empty them. And I'm like, awesome. But that kind of reinforces something that I have here, which is that things like janitorial services are important, and in our real life, they are undervalued. People don't want those jobs. They think negatively about people who have those jobs. But imagine if every janitor, launderer, tech support person, water filtration expert, and every like IT person stopped doing their job. We'd be screwed as a society. So this sets things up less for the online play and more for, I think, the in-person play that happens on the ship. Many of the menial tasks aboard the ship, such as cleaning, food prep, and waste disposal, are automated tasks performed by the ship. So some of it takes place, yes, chaos, exactly. So some of it takes place, the ship does it. I don't think in 2087 we'd have like food replicators like we do on Star Trek, but I think McDonald's is already producing a thing where you can select from a menu in Japan and it just spits out your food. I think we'll be there in 2087 considering we're already there in real life. CSOP's personnel ensure these systems run smoothly and help crew and passengers troubleshoot issues with their automation. Without automated services, there is no waste disposal, food services, and more. So it seems like literally a shitty job, but if you have that kind of role, you actually have a lot of power. Because if you just shut down the janitorial services and you're kind of, they also control life support systems. Yes, it still needs techs. Exactly, Cobalt. Ship politics. Because the passenger complement is so small, the Chariot operates under a provisional government. This government is structured for use only during transit. Once the colonists arrive on Mars, the provisional government will found a permanent political structure suitable for Mars. Provisional governments, I did a little research on them, and even in America, we had a provisional, like the Continental Congress, they knew was kind of provisional. So that's where I'm going with this. Like, this is a government that will work while we're on this ship, and then when we land and we just discover what needs we have, we need to reassess. When this occurs, every voter aged 16 to 26 receives a vote that counts twice. This is to ensure progressive development of society and to prevent warlike erosion. There is a rumor that this has created an interest group hoping to produce children who will fit in the double voting age bracket, or the DVAB, to influence the government on Mars. So I'm introducing a little bit of controversy in there, a little bit of drama that people can play on. And so once we're on the ship, people will try to start producing children in that age bracket specifically so they can influence the outcome of the government in the future. The provisional government contains only one career politician, the provisional president. The president has a limited amount of power, but is permitted to devote their time entirely to the interests of enforcing a fair and just political process in which each passenger receives a vote. All passengers aged 16 and above are permitted to cast votes once per week by way of secure login on a computer console. That means during this gameplay, voting happens once per week, starting with before we even get on ship. And I'm going to include that here. Voting begins upon acceptance before launch. So that means as the captain, or actually the political person would be able to say, okay, here are the issues we're going to vote on. You might want to have it limited while on ship how many kids are born. Yeah. And I would also have to figure out how long it is going to take them. I'm trying not to make this a multi-generational ship, because that adds another layer. That was actually my original idea. That adds another layer. But obviously, only so many children could be born on this journey. So this is the part that I really need to rework, because I'd envisioned the entire thing happening. So I'm going to instead make a list of what needs to happen. We need voting to happen once per week. Character development once per week. So first will be the personalized character casting. And then character development, pre-roleplay, social media, persona development. And then this pre-launch is actually going to be month 1. Okay. And this is not going to be pre-sessions. Session 1. Casting. Session 1. Okay. So the first month, which is this game, all online. Session 1. I think I'm going to move some of this stuff up. That's going to be up here. Okay. Session 1. What did I do? I put that in the wrong place. Okay. Translations. What do you mean translations, Cobalt? Like as a job, like someone who translates things? Translators? Hang on to the stream, people. I'm gonna take a break because I got Facebook messages. I'm GMing for Dragon Thrones. I'm like working on stuff for another game. Let's see. So I just want to make sure I'm not. Working on them soon. Tonight. Okay. Okay. And then the last one was from John. Yes, I am streaming currently, John. Thank you for joining us. Okay. So, these are a lot of things that I have to fit into a couple sessions. And I was going to do this whole meet and greet thing. And I don't know if that's a good idea. I think it's really, I should keep it really simple. Meet and greet. Okay. Yeah, and then this is all, bam. Okay, so what do I need to develop? Tools. The workbook with the character development questionnaire. All rules and consent policies. Waivers for appearing on stream. And use of images in future trailer. What do you mean a time chart? Like how long it'll take for them to get from Earth to Mars? Earth to Mars. Info. Time chart. Info about the current world. And socio-political situation. I also need to decide who funded this. Who's sending this mission? Who's setting it up? Is it the failed governments of our civilization? Is it a private person who has the means to do it? Like how we are learning on the Red Guard. Like a time chart. What do you mean? Like, oh, like what days of the week? Streaming schedule. Off-game guidelines. That's also important. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Cobalt, having a schedule is really good. Yes, thank you. What else do I need to include? Rules, consent, character development questionnaire, your character sheet, or bio. I think I'm gonna maybe, I don't know, if I had my way about it, I would just host the bios online. The way Bravo Fleet does that is an awesome idea. It makes sense that everybody would have access to like a manifest of the crew and the civilians on the ship. I'm not a web expert, and I'm not going to be able to develop a lot of money for that kind of thing here. I have to put it towards SSL to get people to pay me, and yeah. And also the overlay. I want to pay for the overlay. So that's kind of like where my money is going as far as investment. But your character sheet bio, I might be able to host that online. I think I can do that because I'm using, if any of you know, I forget what it's called now. Divi themes for WordPress. So considering there's only 9 on each thing, so one thing I have to work on is website structure to sell LARPs, to list info about each run crew. And one thing I'm thinking about as I do this, and I have talked to Adam about this before, is there's no need to reinvent the wheel if I want to do different settings. So right now this is a sci-fi setting, but I would use the same structure and format to do another game. I would also sell this format and this idea, or provide the viewership and the venue here on Twitch for somebody else to do it, because I'm going to be able to draw in a lot of people to watch the actual gameplay. Hi Aaron, thank you for watching. I am streaming about a game that I've created called Chariot, which is going to be a LARP that I'm actually running on Twitch, the first part of it. And it is going to be all about these people who have gotten a letter that they have been accepted to go and populate Mars. I'm not calling it a colony because that word is kind of divisive and excludes people and makes people uncomfortable, but that's the idea. They're developing life on Mars, and the whole game is that they have a month to say goodbye to everything they know, because they'll never see their friends or family again. And the other thing I need to include here at the bottom is tools. I need the social media, AMA guidelines, schedule. I think that schedule is really important, Cobalt, and also what I want to accomplish in each session, goals for each session. Yeah. And by goals for each session, like, I want an AMA at the end of this. The last week is going to be an AMA. People are going to be able to come in and talk to these characters and ask them everything. How would you deal with crime in the game? Well, in the online portion, there's not going to be any crime because people are just on the computer. But that brings something up, which is like on Star Trek, you would have a security team, right? So that means I need like police. So do I rely on the crew to police, or do I give that power to CSOPs, the Civilian Ship Operations Unit? I don't want to give them too much power. Stalking and hacking, yeah. Let's see. Security team member. Yeah. Yeah, that would be informational security, which I'm going to put with, I think I had something about IT. Let's see. System security. Great, Cobalt. That's awesome. Yeah, that stuff there. System security. That's fantastic. And then I'm also going to include out-of-game roles. So I have a pretty set... this is like 90% done. I think my next big task is... this is ready to playtest. Yeah, the crew. Yeah. This is ready for playtest. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a playtest. If you want to be involved in a playtest, I'm probably almost full. But... Facebook.com/Irish American is my personal Facebook page. If you would like to be involved, go ahead and do that. Message me there, and I will add you. It is an 18+ game. There are mature themes. I'm playtesting it, and I'm actually going to start selling tickets while I'm still playtesting it. Like, I'm going forward with this. The playtest is to iron out the kinks and see where we're going. I don't know how full the playtest will be in terms of doing a full 4 sessions. I think I might do 2 sessions and run it that way. So that's my next step. I mean, this is really close to being done. I think the most time I need to spend on it now is the website. And that's like, really, to me, it's really intimidating, that website structure, considering I need to put this on the domain I already have. And the SSL costs a lot of money. My friend Erica, who wants to host the site for me for less than I'm paying GoDaddy, who can include SSL in that, is moving to Germany. So, yeah. Hi, Cobalt. Yes, thank you for speaking Irish. I know, yes. You hear that on stream sometimes. So, yeah. Any other suggestions? Let me know. Otherwise, I think this is pretty good to go, and I'm really close to ending streams, really. Oh, friend request. John sent me a friend request. I guess you're my friend, bro. Yes. Thanks for that. So, and John, thank you again for my first subscription. I can take subscriptions now via Prime, apparently. So that's a thing that I can do now. I'm so excited about that. I also got, I had a rough time because I severed some, I'll say ties and relationships, and that affected my Patreon account. That was a little rough. Because, you know, you think people, even if you have personal differences with them, will still support you, with your work, you know, if it really means something. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So I, like, lost... one Patreon person, another Patreon person had some financial issues, which I totally get. And then another friend was really nice and put some into the Patreon today. So I'm really trying to, like, I put that money towards keeping the website active and developing the LARP. So that's great. The money from any kind of subscriptions will also do that. So I appreciate that. If you have Amazon Prime, it costs you nothing extra to hit that subscribe button and give me a Prime sub. So, John, thank you again for being my first Prime subscriber. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about it. Yeah, so any last minute, any last questions, anything else like that, go ahead and send those over to me now or later. and I will check them out. I'm probably going to be streaming once more about this LARP. I will stream again for my New World Magic School, a spin-off event, Prologue. And once I sign some paperwork for that event, there will be a limited amount of things that I will be able to stream regarding that event, because I don't want to give away plot info. But you're going to get to see some stuff that I'm going to give the scripted characters, some really transparent goals, so you'll get the idea of the event. New reporters. Yes, I do have reporters in there. That does remind me. One thing I'm looking for Chariot, for this game, this is kind of new. This is like a new thing that I'm going to be doing, and I am looking for people to actually cover this or like document it and to provide some feedback or reviews. I think this is something that maybe should be covered for you know, a website other than mine. How long is this game intended to run for? So I am going to run the online portion of this game for a month. So every week it'll be a 2-hour session, and there's a workbook that you can do in between in character. So the online portion will last a month. So it's 8 hours of gameplay, but then there's also going to be a couple hours of workshopping and the 30-minute character creation interview between myself and the participant, which will happen. It can happen on stream. It may not. It might just happen over like Skype or Hangouts or whatever. And that's the idea. So it's going to be a few hours of the out-of-game workshopping, which is really important, and then 8 hours of gameplay, which runs everyone through like the grief and the excitement of leaving Earth forever. And that's where it stops. The idea is, and this was a great suggestion by Aaron Vanek, the idea is that this game is a standalone thing, but players can continue at a convention. So I run this online. Let's say you play this game. I charge only for the online game. You want to continue playing where your character actually goes into space. Then maybe we're at Metatopia, and I run this game at Metatopia. So that's kind of where we're going with it. And I would really love to run it at Gen Con, because then I can actually like charge for it. And I don't want to be a jerk and charge people for things, but this is what I do now, and this is one of the things that pays my bills. So I do want to get paid a little bit for running this when I can. I think that's going to be one of the most controversial things I'm doing here, is I'm running a game online, streaming it just like people stream D&D, but I'm asking for money for people to participate. It's really important to me that this game is accessible. So I actually, instead of doing more gameplay, I limited it to 8 hours of gameplay. And I also, you know, there can be support in Discord for text-based roleplay, all that stuff, that's all included. And, oh, I got a new follower. I'm waiting to see who it is on the stream. But yeah, that's kind of how that's going to work. So 8 hours of gameplay, it'll run through 1 month. So Hamad, thank you so much for following me. I appreciate it. Yeah, so 1 month, and then I can do follow-up adventures at in person at conventions. So this will be like, if you participated in this would be your character saying goodbye, and then maybe the first event at Metatopia might be your character actually boarding the ship and leaving Earth and maybe encountering the first problem there. And that's kind of how it would go. So since it's limited to 10 people on Google Hangouts, I would love to be able to do multiple runs. Even if I was charging $50 per person per game, that would subsidize one ticket, because again, I want to keep this accessible, so I could give away one ticket. I could pay for the limited design stuff that I need, and I could also kind of like make a part-time living off of this. And I would love to do that. I could reskin this for different settings. I mean, I know I'm not the only one looking at running games live. I might be the only one really looking at seriously streaming LARPs for hours per day. You know, and I think there's a lot of value in it, but it is not the same as being in person. So I really like Aaron's suggestion of starting this online and saying, if you'd like to continue in person, here's an option for you. that made me feel a lot better about calling it a LARP. And I don't know if it's a LARP. I don't know. I think that's kind of to be determined. It is live. There's as much action in this LARP as there is in many other theatrical games. I think the LARPing that I did with Susan and Marshall over Google Hangouts privately proved to me that I can get a high level of immersion through LARPing online. And that really changed my mind about it. And it was the same night that Jason published his New World Magiscola Magic Mirror rules for LARPing over the computer. I achieved a high level of immersion for it. You might do a summer camp for the colony LARP part. Yeah, the colony part could be its own thing. There could also be short segments where the colony is communicating with Earth or the spaceship, and that would be really ideal for doing it over the computer. But Sharon's feedback and Aaron's feedback seemed to be that if there's a situation where you and I are interacting personally, then that's weird doing it over, not weird doing it over the computer, but that's like, it feels like it's not a real LARP. So maybe there's a scenario where you're on the spaceship and something happens and you're, the security doors go down and you're confined to your quarters, and I'm in the science lab and you're on the bridge and I've got to communicate with you or something like that. That might be okay, but overall I'm going to keep the on-ship action offline because I feel like that's where it becomes really clear that it's not a LARP. Live social experiment with a touch of long-form improv. I want to avoid social experiment because it feels like you're messing with people in real life. There's debate about the words experience and how that applies to LARP. I've used the word experience here. I call it an immersive month-long digital live-action roleplay experience taking place entirely over an online live broadcast. So that's what I originally said. I then read a lot of criticism about the word experience. My real answer to all of that is that I don't know. I created a thing inspired by LARP, inspired by... I've been doing Star Trek simming since I was 16 years old, and I'm 36 now. So I've been doing Star Trek sims for a long time. Koba, I started when I was your age, and now I'm here. I've been doing that for a very long time. So that's kind of like the inspiration for it. The show Ascension, which is I think it's on Netflix, if not Amazon, also an inspiration for it. I really wanted to do this as a blockbuster LARP, but it seemed really hard to do something on a spaceship as a blockbuster LARP. And at the same time, I was writing an American Revolution LARP that I meant to do as a salon LARP, just at a convention, a 4-hour-long thing. And what ended up happening, and this is a theme with the LARPs I develop, they start as one thing and end up as another form or format. And so the spaceship one, and I've already sunk like 40 hours into developing this, 7-page document, not because it took me 40 hours to do 7 pages, but because I originally made this as a blockbuster LARP, and then I retooled it to do this and started over. I was like, this is the perfect format. So that LARP became this one, taking place on stream with the possibility to continue at a convention. And the American Revolution LARP went from a 4-hour parlor LARP to a blockbuster LARP because I have some local access to really cool locations. And that one's the one that's going to be the blockbuster. And there's one other LARP that is being developed in that space that is historical American Revolution. But they're talking about like camping and outdoor stuff and a location north of me. So I think I'm doing something a little different. And that one's called Intrigue and Independence. So it's focused on spycraft and stuff like that. And I described it at the beginning of the stream. I don't know if you were on here, all of you are on here, but it's gonna have embedded like scripted PCs, no NPCs. So the scripted PCs, for example, will be like Major John Andre, who was British and not a jerk, and a real gentleman, and he will, or she, deciding on who plays that person, will have plot points that are not optional. They have to pursue these. They have to push these plot points. They have to do their best to achieve these objectives. So Andre and Lafayette are going to be those two, and then I'm going to be the third representing the Continentals, who's on the same team as Lafayette, basically. And then behind the scenes, I'll have one or two GMs controlling it as like Washington and Howe. And then everybody else in the game is not going to have a famous name. I've taken historical figures like Ben Franklin, and I've divided them up more into roles. So you're not coming with predefined roles or horrible things they did. Like, you're not going to be asked to play a slave owner, for example. And somebody like Ben Franklin, he had like 15 roles in that era and in the Revolution. So one person's a publisher. One person runs the postal office. One person runs the library. One person runs the fire department. These are all things that he did. One person's a philosopher. One person's the ambassador to France. He did all these things, but I'm splitting that up so that the PCs can enjoy it. I'll definitely come play a red coat. Are we doing costumes more freeform for that? That is a great question, John. I don't know if you know Raquel. She is phenomenal. I met her at Dragon Thrones, and I got to see her again at Gen Con. She's all about costuming, and she's going to be researching costume resources for me because I think the ticket needs to include a rental costume. So I'm looking at going rental costume for that, and that's going to be part of the Blockbuster LARP ticket price. I hate that I'm going to price people out because of costuming, but I think it might be the only way to do it. And for most people, it's going to have to be a rental kind of thing. But maybe we'll get a price break if we can promise them like a certain number of rentals. So that's what I'm hoping. Some people might have their own that are actually like legitimate. But that's the thing that I asked Klaus for advice on, the guy that runs the super famous and popular College of Wizardry. He's run a couple other LARPs that require heavy costuming, super accurate costuming. And I was like, yo, what do I do? Like, this is a really specific thing from a really specific era. And he was like, look into rentals. So I'm going to research it. Or actually, Raquel is going to research that for me. She's my costume person. And we're going to come up with something there. The big challenge with the American Revolution LARP is, yes, I'm exactly talking about Convention of Thorns. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. Convention of Thorns, Fairweather on the Manor, they do it right. Their pictures look amazing. Their footage looks great. Yes, he does. And that is exactly what I want to do. You might try to get a backing. Yeah. This Chariot here is my first thing that I'm going to sell tickets to. Well, I sold tickets to She's Got a Gun because you can do that at Gen Con. And I sold it for $4 a ticket, and it sold out immediately. And people gave really good feedback. So Chariot is the first LARP that I'm going to sell an experience to, and I'm doing this virtually because I don't need to like kickstart it. I don't need any additional resources to run it. I'm just sinking my time into it at this point. And the American Revolution LARP, I've worked with Seventh Kingdom, so I've done a Bafra combat game. I've helped write for that. But the American Revolution LARP, Intrigue and Independence, is going to be my first big thing. I'm looking at going Kickstarter with it. I do have somebody else that I'm looking to talk to see if they want to produce the event. I am not set up to run all that stuff. I don't have an LLC yet. It's like risky for me to do that stuff. I'm hoping to take some of the money from this game and use it to get all that stuff that I need, the LLC and all that stuff. I'm also looking to possibly build a little bit of that into the Kickstarter for Intrigue and Independence, but I actually need that stuff before I do that. So for Independence and Intrigue, for Intrigue and Independence to even get on Kickstarter, there are some things I need that I don't have. I need the LLC and I need the insurance. And then after that, I need a location and I need to have put a down payment on the location to secure it. That's the risk. So I'm running a spin-off for New World Magiscola. I'm waiting for the paperwork. I'm really excited about it. The thing about running the spin-off is, when I approached them and asked them to do it, I was like, all I want to do is write and produce this event, and if I can make a little money off of it for all my work and tell the story and develop Destiny Province and, Philadelphia's place in that, I would be honored. I have a great story idea, here it is, and they were like, awesome. The cool thing is they're already set up to run a New World Magic School event through start to finish through their site. That's their IP. That's their thing. Awesome. I am like 100% on board with that all being on their site, all under their liability. They're trusting in me to sell tickets and to produce a cool event. I can do that. Other stuff for Intrigue and Independence, it's going to be hard because if I independently produce it, I need to have all this stuff. I need the LLC, the insurance, and the location with the down payment to reserve it in place before I even put a Kickstarter up. I have somebody ready to run my social who will probably be able to work off of what kind of money I raise, and I'm going to build her fee into it. So as you can tell, I'm relying on people who really believe in my ability to pull this off to get this done. Like the person who's going to commit to social and sign a contract with me is a professional, and she's doing this because she knows that I can pull this off and then I can sell the tickets, and that she's seen the social capital I've built to be able to do it. That is a big honor. Same thing with the NWM event. Like they're trusting me to handle this world that they've created, and I want to do a great job with it. So I'm thinking about going to another event producer I know and saying, hey, I'd like to run this event. It's a great idea. I have a lot of people interested, but I've never done one before. And I don't think that is bad to say, like, I need help with this. I don't have the money to put down to do this. But I definitely know people that if there's trust there, like I think there is, that, we could sign the documents and get this started and they would put down the money for it. I've had people come to me and say, what are you running? Can I pay to play it? What are you developing? Can I play it? What are you developing? Can I help you produce it? And what are you running? How much money do you need? And it's very hard to personally be in a financially difficult place in my life and to actually do this as a part-time job. And, I have people coming and saying like, hey, I'm willing to help you out and invest in this dream. And people are doing that, and I'm really excited and ready to go. So on my to-do list, I've got to update the Geek Initiative with this information. I have to update tarotwrites.com and just make it clear that I'm game designing as part of my job, and the rest of my job is editing. I just need to make that clear. That's what I do now. And I think then I'll feel comfortable with really selling tickets and asking for money and saying, hey, I can do this thing. But some of the names of the people that have asked me what I'm doing and have really pushed me and encouraged me, the fact that they have that much confidence in me makes me know it's time, and it just really, I think one of the more heartfelt conversations I had was when I was stressed out and waiting for my plane yesterday, and I was talking to Nick, and I was talking about what I want to do with this LARP stuff and my passion for it, and he was like, you're in love with game design. And it was not at all meant as an insult. It was one of the most heartfelt things anyone has said to me, and I'm like, yeah, wow, and that's not a bad thing at all. And he's right. So this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I got to do. And although this is not the way I wanted to transition into it, with losing a job and possibly even losing my car, this is even more important than keeping my freaking car. Like if that's my choice, I don't want to find a job. I want to make games and edit stuff. And I'm kind of at the point where that's what I'm going to do, because I am in love with this. I don't have anything else holding me back. I don't have other ties holding me back. I'm pretty happy. And I want to do this and have fun and hopefully be really good at it. I have a passion for it, and I'm ready to play the captain of the Chariot. And I do need a new name for my captain, Cobalt. So if you can come up with another name, that would be great. I'd prefer an Irish-American name. I named her after my cousin, Emily. I love my cousin. But I need a new last name because Flynn has some difficult connotations with me due to a recent breakup. So I need a new last name. Come up with one. There's a lot more to LARP than I first thought. There really is. There really is. And the person to handle the money you also suggested, that's super important. And that's something I'm working on too, because I don't have money to hire someone to manage the business part of the LARP. that is one of my big things. I am not a business person. I'm not good at owning a business. I'm not good at running a business, but I can produce a LARP from start to finish. I want somebody else to manage the business. I don't have any money to put out front to do that. There are some people in LARP world. Thank you, Cobalt. That is her new name. It's easy to pronounce. Yeah, that, that's kind of the toughest part of this for me, is having that. Sorry, we're responding to a couple messages. Yeah, that's a big part of it. That's one of the toughest parts of LARP design for me, and I think it's hard because it's not one that I'm enthusiastic about mastering. I've managed my own freelance writing business. I've done freelancing full-time at my last job, the one that screwed me over. Well, I had two right in a row that screwed me over, and I'm realizing now that it's good that it happened, because this is what I'm meant to do. But the point of that is, I'm not going to manage my own business or someone else's. I need somebody else to help me with that. So I have a few trusted people I know, but somebody like Claire Wilshire is such an amazing person and so capable of running her business. I can think of it like a business. I can develop ideas and scale them like a business. But I don't run a business. That's not what I do. It's not my strength. It's not what I'm good at. And I'm good enough to know that, I've done enough marketing and enough business development that I'm good enough to know that that's not my strength. And when I come across that situation, the best thing to do is to hire somebody else who's good at it. When I talk about casting these scripted NPCs that really need to kind of keep an eye on things in game and steer things the right way, and confront people who might be out of game on the wrong track, or even like offensive, that stresses me out so much. Okay, but for those of you who know Nick, that does not stress him out. He's used to administrating games and having those tough conversations both with the game master and with the person involved, and I've seen him do that, and I really trust him. So like, he's an example of a person I want in place to do that, because if that happened to me in my game, I wouldn't, it would still be a concern, obviously, but I know that he could help me handle that. So you put the right people in place to do that. I have like the right people in place and in mind for the social, for costuming and stuff like that, that I trust, and just so much support behind me from the LARP community, also from everyone on Redguard. You guys are great. The prefix might be different. No, O'Sullivan is right. That's certainly a real name. And that's what I'm going to use. The other thing I want to know, Cobalt, you're kind of good at looking up this info. If not, I might ask Chad to help me out. I was going to name it the USS Chariot, but this is not necessarily like a ship from the United States. The USS whatever is like a ship from our country. I kind of want it to be like a global thing, or like a privately owned vessel. Would it still have USS, or would it be something else? That's the question. I don't know. On Star Trek, they still do USS. It's still the USS Enterprise. On Star Wars, where there's no real-world basis, it's like just the whatever, like the Millennium Falcon. So I could call it the Chariot, but I want it to be clear that it's a ship. I don't want to get lost in these details, but that's kind of where we are. So, ship prefix. Thank you, Cobalt. Oh, you're always good at this. Fantastic. So, I really appreciate everybody sticking around, giving me some feedback on this. I'm very close to having this document done. I'm ready to test. I'm going to go ahead and put up a test schedule for my people who volunteered, and that's where I am. I am going to put the Patreon here. Patreon helps me be able to do this. And really just your presence here is support enough. And John, I'm like still really touched about the whole Prime subscription thing. Thank you. I'm really happy about that. So thanks again for doing it. I'm going to end the stream here. And I really, again, appreciate everybody's participation. And everybody's help with this. It makes me so happy. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love every one of you. You're great supporters. You're great friends. You provide great input. Some of you are great members of the LARP community too. You're all fantastic writers and role players. Thank you so much for your support. And I will see all of you soon. Thank you again. Bye.